Fantastic. So today we're really excited to share some data science opportunities for HBCUs, and we're also joined by our friends at Microsoft and Mastercard today. And so hopefully this will provide either ideas for engagement and maybe some things we haven't thought about. So feel free to put any comments, questions in the chat, and we'll get to them at the end in the Q&A. So I just want to provide a disclaimer that even though Mastercard and Microsoft are supporting us, right, all of our opinions, views, recommendations are those of the presenter and don't necessarily reflect the views of any organization. So here in the United States, African Americans account for about 12% of the US population as a whole, but only 3% of data analytics professionals, and this is according to the Harnham study. So we seek to address this disparity. And if you were with us the other week, we had 3 amazing panelists that talked about the CHIPS and Science Act. Dr. Keith Hargrove is the provost at Tuskegee University, Dr. Francis Williams, who's the VP for research at Clark Atlanta University, and Dr. George White, who leads HBCU engagement at Georgia Tech. And they talked about the CHIPS and Science Act. And so I just want to remind us, if you haven't read it, please do so. And in the act, there are 10 key technology areas, all of which employ data, anywhere from artificial intelligence, high performance computing, quantum technology, advanced manufacturing, and I'll just say, and so on. And so thinking about data, not just in a narrow focus of data science, but we can also think about developing the techniques to utilize data, but also the applications of data to solve, we'll say, problems as we move forward. The Atlanta University Center is an initiative of the presidents here, including Dr. David Thomas, who's president of Morehouse College, Dr. Helen Gale, president of Spelman College, Dr. Valerie Montgomery Rice, president of Morehouse School of Medicine, and Dr. George T. French, who's the president of Clark Atlanta University. And their vision for us and our work is to expand data science capacity across all HBCUs. Obviously, we work really closely and really love working closely here with the AUC member institutions. And we also have a call to engage other HBCUs. So we're really excited to join and partner with Mastercard and Microsoft to make that happen. So if you didn't know, historically Black colleges and universities, or HBCUs, were established prior to 1964. And our principal mission was and continues to be the education of Black Americans. And we were established in the Higher Education Act of 1965. So it's a historical designation, not enrollment-based. And there are 7 total types of MSIs. So there are approximately, depending on how you count, plus or minus, 101 HBCUs. And even though we make up 3% of institutions in higher education, we enroll 10% of Black students in higher education. And we also graduate 24% of Black students with STEM degrees. So we really look to leverage the strength of HBCUs to add to the diversity of those who are trained and skilled in data science. The AUC Data Science Initiative has 2 goals. One is to develop talent, provide educational opportunities for those in higher education and beyond, and also to create new knowledge, to generate either research, technology, to address these issues or challenges and provide new insights. And we do that through our curriculum, through our research, and through our engagement. Here in the Atlanta University Center, we still have an AUC-wide working group that established our data science and analytics framework that guides how we think about education, that guides how we think about training, and guides how we think about what are the fundamental key aspects of data science. And they are the following. It includes mathematics and statistics, programming, modeling, data curation, ethics, and communication. And so these 6 components really make up how we think about data science here in the AUC and also how we carry out that work. So for the Data Science Initiative, we've been, as you could probably say, a little bit busy, maybe. Back in 2018, the AUC presidents, they identified this urgent need to diversify the data science workforce. In 2019, United Health Group funded the AUC consortium to start and launch the Data Science Initiative. So at the beginning, the presidents and other stakeholders here in the AUC visited other places, one of which is the University of Texas Advanced Computing Center, which we're collaborating with to launch a high-performance computing center. Super exciting. And we've continued collaborations with them to this day. I was hired in August of 2020, so I came on as the inaugural director. Since then, we've hosted numerous amount of workshops, symposium, seminars, and so on. And then also in 2022, we were awarded $10 million to Clark Atlanta University to establish the National Data Science Alliance, which is an NSF-funded initiative. Most recently, this past fall, we were awarded from Mastercard to expand our work over HBCUs, and also by Microsoft to launch a mini grant program. And we'll talk a little bit more about where the motivation for those programs come from. So our program at a glance, we have different programs for our students, for student engagement, also resources for everyone. And also we love to support our faculty and staff who continue to touch and encourage the lives of many students. We couldn't do this work without our industry support, not only in the financial support, but also thinking about what are the key topics in data science? How do we train our students in data science? And to be frank, there are a lot of technological innovations happening in industry. How can we bring those back to inform and also to encourage our researchers as well? As they say, teamwork makes the dream work, and the team will be expanding. And we're really excited to have this fantastic, amazing team who's really committed to advancing data science across HBCUs. So this is a photo from the fall, which was the launching of the work with Mastercard. And so with the Mastercard funding, we have 4 key components that we have identified. One is to provide workshops to develop industry-informed curriculum. We'll have one in June, so please stay tuned. It'll be on artificial intelligence across the curriculum. We also looking to support innovation in computer science departments. The third is to expand the PreFreshman Experience Summer Program, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. And also develop, launch, establish an HBCU Data Science Career Hub. So if any of these resonate with you, feel free to partner with us. Some time ago, back in 2019, the National Academy of Sciences launched a report. It was called Minority Serving Institutions, America's Underutilized Resource for Strengthening the STEM Workforce. I attended this presentation with the National Academies, and it really struck a chord with me to figure out how can we resource and equip minority serving institutions in STEM. And in the report, when they talked about the report, they said, evidence suggests that the nation will need 1 million more STEM professionals that it is on track to produce in the coming decade. I think that number is actually increasing as far as a deficit. Within 50 years, no single racial or ethnic group will comprise the majority population group in the United States. And by 2060, 2/3 of children under the age of 18 in the United States will be youth of color. That time may be closer to us. And so in this report, they go on to say that the impact of this underrepresentation is critical to understand given the imminent transition toward a non-white majority in the United States. The report goes on to talk about some promising institutional practices. And many of these institutional practices resonate with our summer pre-freshman experience program. So one is to have supportive campus environments that enables peer-to-peer learning and self-efficacy and community engagement. Another one are student-centered supports to be asset-oriented, establish vision for what students need to learn. Also to have effective mentorship and sponsorship, which has shown to be highly effective for students of color. And it also facilitates development of student talent and professional goals. And to provide undergraduate research experiences, which support critical thinking and communication skill development, high-quality faculty engagement, and also these research experiences that are aligned to the working world of science. And of course, we're thinking about data science. So our pre-freshman summer experience program really responds to this call from the Minority Serving MSI report to have these promising institutional practices to broaden participation in data science. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague at Smita Jain, who is at Mastercard. Smita?
Hey everyone, thank you so much for having me. My name is Smita Jain. I am the Director of Data and Analytics at Mastercard Center for Inclusive Growth, which is our philanthropic and social impact arm at Mastercard. So very excited to be here. I wanted to start this by kind of just laying the groundwork for what is data for social impact. I think that term gets thrown around a lot. And I think you heard this from some of the students in that video, but there is being data collected at unprecedented rate right now. There's data in all sorts of formats, and also there's some data that's actually still missing. But data, as we know, serves a key kind of role in communication, in decision making, in evaluating performance, in all sorts of aspects. And we've seen that the private sector specifically has really taken advantage of data, right? Data-driven decision making has been part of their strategy. It's implemented at every level. And what we've seen is social sector organizations, so whether it's nonprofits or even government, are not able to unlock that power of data the same way we see the private sector doing, or use it to communicate their impact, communicate to funders, communicate in a way that is making the world around us better. And so DSI as a broad concept is a world that uses data and AI to tackle society's greatest challenges and improve lives across the globe. And that can mean, that can mean financial security, it can mean climate, it could mean education, health, all those applications. But the idea is, are we using data to make people's lives better and the planet better? So if we could go to the next slide. A quick overview of the Center for Inclusive Growth and how we're thinking about data for social impact. So the Inclusive Growth Score, or sorry, the Inclusive Center for Inclusive Growth has three key areas that we operate in. The first is small business growth. So that's making sure small businesses have what they need to thrive in this economy. The second is financial security. So how do we make sure individuals have the security and the tools to be financially healthy and thriving? And finally, impact data science. How do we create an ecosystem where data is benefiting people and the planet and it's driving equitable outcomes, whether that's with nonprofits, government, think tanks, wherever that might be? Our work breaks down into three areas at Mastercard. The first is strengthening data capacity in the field of data. So what we mean by capacity is both the organization's ability to use data as well as the talent that goes into those organizations. The second is catalyzing insights and analytics. So that is all about making sure we are actually taking the data to drive new, insightful, meaningful conclusions that can help us make better decisions around how we service or deliver services or allocate resources or funding. And then as MasterCard, how are we leveraging our own data to make sure that we are contributing to the broader world? So we have transaction data. What do we do with it? You'll see all of that kind of encompassed on the right side. It's what we call our little Pokeball of data and AI for social impact. But the four components that we feel go into creating this broader field of data for social impact is standards. So what are the kind of governance? What are the regulations? How do we make sure we're using data safely and ethically and responsibly? Capacity, as I had mentioned, how do we make sure that organizations are able to take in talent, right? That they are actually using data, but how do we make sure that talent is being trained in a way with a social impact lens to go into those organizations or even elsewhere? And how do we make sure that that talent is diverse, whether it's in terms of their academic background, their demographics, whatever it might be? How do we make sure that the incoming pool of talent and data practitioners is diverse? The third is insights analytics, which I just mentioned on specific use case. What are the solutions we're creating in the space? And then finally, network. So how do we create spaces, ecosystems, convenings where folks can talk about this, learn from each other, and continue to advance the field? And so this kind of all comes together to create what we call the data for social impact ecosystem. So if you could go to the next slide. Wanted to give you just a very quick overview of the work we're doing at the center in our impact data science world. You'll see on the left a few key organizations that we're working with: data.org, DataKind, Cyber Peace Institute, Howard University, and the University of Virginia, all of which are doing all sorts of different work that you'll see on the right, whether it's skills and playbooks, helping nonprofits with either their data maturity or their cybersecurity. The Howard University Center for Applied Data Science and Analytics is part of kind of one of our programs, and that is training the next generation of data practitioners. To go into this field. And then we have kind of, again, all sorts of different things that are going on, but all kind of fit into that broader ecosystem of how we create a field for data for social impact. If you could go to the next slide, I wanted to give you one example of how we've actually brought theory into action, into measurement, right? So we talk about inclusive growth, we talk about social impact, but how do we measure that? How do we make sure that we are actually achieving that? And so what we did was, which is a prime example of data for social impact, is we took Mastercard data, we combined it with some public data sources, some private data sources, and said, how can we use this data to illustrate what is happening in local communities across the US? So we take that data, calculate a score, and say, are we seeing growth in an area? And growth being increases in real estate value, more spend, higher incomes. But do we also see inclusion? So if we are seeing the higher real estate value, do we see that housing remaining affordable? If we are seeing increases in spend or businesses, do we see small businesses represented? And so it's this balance in the score that brings data into the hands of decision makers and practitioners to help them drive more equitable outcomes. And it has all sorts of different use cases. You can look at census tracts over time, you can compare them to one another. But the idea being, we have this huge treasure chest of data, and there are ways to make that data useful to drive better outcomes for people and for places. So yes, if there are any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat, but I will hand it back to Dr. Washington.
Thank you so much, Smita. And I think our pop poll just popped up. So if y'all could answer that, that'd be great. And so really think this is fantastic. We are really thinking about this data for social impact with the Data Science Initiative. And as she said, to develop talent, what better way to do that than with incoming students? So our pre-freshman summer experience program, it's a virtual summer program. It's 1 week. This summer, we're going to open up to all HBCUs. We've done it in past summers where it was just AUC to kind of pilot and test it out. And this summer, we're going to invite all HBCU students who are incoming to an HBCU to apply. We'll be looking for instructors who are either HBCU faculty and staff to apply, and then also research mentors who are upper level undergraduate and or graduate students to apply. Each of the components, we'll say, each of the roles have an associated stipend. The student stipend is $350 for successful completion. The instructor stipend is $2,000 for successful completion, and the research mentor is $1,000 for successful completion. So I'm just going to go a little bit about the program. It's led by this working group of Dr. Kenneth Gaucher of Morehouse College, Dr. Marinette Holmes of Spelman College, Dr. Angelita Howard of Morehouse School of Medicine, and Dr. Eric Mintz of Clark-Lane University, who really they steer and guide the program to make sure we're going the right direction. We also provide a Credly badge to all participants upon completion of the program, which is an e-credential. And so in this virtual program, the instructors create the research project that includes a data set and computational work that also resonates with the theme, data for social impact, that Smita talked about. And the projects, the instructor should have a real live data set identified before the week. It's only 5 days, so it goes by super fast. And they should have the students carry out the research work, research investigation of that data set with some sort of technology, whether it's Excel, Python, or Tableau. They should do something with that technology. We found that by Friday, they give some really amazing presentations. Students coming in, it doesn't matter what the discipline is, the preparation, it's just drive, enthusiasm, and the willingness to learn and do. The students do work in teams of 6 to 7 students with a research mentor. And this really just offers them a chance to connect with others in the community. The instructors and research mentors are expected to attend, or required rather, to attend a virtual orientation to talk about how do we lead student research projects, and also to answer questions and to foster collaboration across the instructional teams. Those are the instructors and research mentors, as well as attend all of the sessions as well. Now, just to give a little hint, last year, we did the program. We had 87 students complete it. We also did in collaboration with the PFX+C Computing, where Dr. Kenneth Gaucher of Morehouse, who's the executive director of the Broadening Participation Center in Computing, he created like a sandwich around our program. So his students went for some weeks before the program, then they did our program, and then they completed with his. If that's something that we could coordinate with you, if that's something you're interested in doing, please let us know. And so this is a word cloud of all the different majors, but we have majors from across the disciplines. You'll see music, sociology, communication, chemistry, management, biology, and we really do mix the teams by majors, and just to make sure we have that cross-fertilization. This is the schedule for it. It's all times are Eastern Standard Time. So for the first hour from 11 to 12, that's our all hands meetings where we have guest speakers and panelists. And then from 12 to 1:30, the instructors meet with the research team and also the team members to go over topics. What do you need to know? There's a 30-minute break. And then in the afternoon from 2 to 4, the research mentor meets with the teams and helps guide their research. And so by Wednesday morning, the teams give a PowerPoint presentation about what they've done and what they need to do. And then by Friday afternoon, they actually have a lightning talk, 5-minute lightning talk about their research that they've carried out over the week. And so we found this really be an impactful program to have students. And we anticipate having 150 students participate and complete this summer. So really looking forward to it. Like I said, for the instructors, their job is to identify a data set before the program starts that addresses a current real world problem that has a social impact flavor embedded throughout, and also employ some technology. And also think about what do they want students to learn as they carry out this investigation, and what are the data science topics, and to provide guidance to the research mentor as well as the students. And a real key component is active engagement. It's the summertime. Let's have fun with data. We also, for the research mentors, these are upper level undergraduates or graduate students who are at HBCUs, and they'll meet with the instructor beforehand. We're looking for research mentors who will help kind of guide, coach the teams, not do the work for them, but be that support. And also to recognize if some students are having a difficult time, to help pull them along or encourage them, or just provide them support that helps them progress along the way in their project work. The participant responsibilities, these are the teams. These are incoming HBCU students. They work along the college professors and mentors. And so really this will build an HBCU community at scale, so to speak. We find that students who participate in this program carry on nice professional relationships with the faculty and the research mentor way beyond the program, because this is really their first embedded introduction in HBCUs. So really excited about the program. Now I'm going to pivot here, and I'm going to go back to the MSI report. Now, in the MSI report by the National Academy of Sciences, they talked about investments, and they were talking about investments in minority serving institutions. And they said that despite having fewer financial resources, MSIs have proven, oh, I guess my mouse has a mind of its own, have proven successful in providing multifaceted returns on investment. This is thinking about upward social mobility, contributing to the national STEM workforce, and also stimulating economic benefits for communities. And in this report, they have a recommendation to public and private agencies to develop and expand grant competition programs that serve the nation's MSIs, and to reconsider the practicality of current competitive funding models for under-resourced MSIs. So our mini grants program really answers this call to develop and expand a program to support new researchers, those who have little to no research funding, and their institutions, to help them and encourage them in carrying out and conducting data science research, both on the education side and also on the data science side as well. And so with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to ask Corey Hawkins just to talk a little bit about Microsoft's commitment to HBCUs, as they are our collaborating partner in this.
Thanks, Dr. Washington. And hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Corey Hawkins. First of all, I wanted to mention I'm a Morehouse graduate, and so really proud to be working with the Atlanta University Center. I've been with Microsoft since 2020, really working on academic partnerships with colleges and universities like those in the Atlanta University Center. Last year, here at Microsoft, we formed a new team called Innovation in Society, which sits under our Technology for Fundamental Rights organization. And in that, we use data and technology to advance fundamental rights like higher education. With this new team, we've been co-creating scalable pilots with our academic partners to drive innovation and talent in key emerging technology areas like quantum computing, AI, and of course, data science. So I'm really excited about this partnership with the Atlanta University Center Data Science Initiative to create this mini grant program. We understand that the work of many HBCU faculty and researchers goes unnoticed, yet they are highly critical in the advancement of data science innovation landscape. We want to ensure that your work reaches a broader audience and cultivates new ways of thinking about data science, particularly with respect to bias and equity. Hopefully, these mini grants will also further the development of collaborations across both academia and industry. And so again, I'm really excited about the launch of this data science mini grant program and the collaboration, and want to thank Dr. Washington for leading this partnership with Microsoft. So I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Washington.
Thanks so much. Yeah, it was a Spelman grad. Always good to have Spellhouse. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the mini grants program, and that's supported by Microsoft. And so this mini grants program, this is the first time we're doing this, and it promotes research innovations at HBCUs to develop innovations in data science that improve understanding of an issue and begin to develop solutions that provide societal benefits or opportunities. So we anticipate awarding 10 HBCUs for up to $18,000 in total cost. And so forget that part, it's up to $18,000 in total cost. And we're just asking the institutions to not ask for more than 8% in indirect costs. I'll update that number. And so this mini grant program is open to all faculty and staff at HBCUs. Like I said, it's a funding up to $18,000 a year. And our deadline is May 30th, 2024, and the application is live online. And so the goal of the program is to support HBCU faculty staff who have had little to no research funding, and also in the development and to develop and promote their research innovations to provide societal benefits or opportunities. So our aim is to also to support vertically integrated projects that may engage students, community members, in a way that makes sense for the project, to support the development of innovative research, experiential learning opportunities, and or workforce opportunities. Now, we do ask that the lead principal investigator be a full-time faculty or staff member at the awardee institution. And the eligibility for awardee institutions are HBCUs. We have two tracks that one could apply for, one or maybe a team. Track one is improving data science education. So these projects are expected to develop data science and analytics related education for either undergrad, graduate students, or the workforce. And so our track two is advancing data-driven discovery. So these projects are expected to develop data science and analytics related research, and the proposal should address how the research will expand advances in data science and also the potential for discovery across different disciplinary areas as appropriate. In this mini grants program, we have a couple of key features, which I think are going to be super great. One of which is a professional development series, where we will engage the awardees in monthly 1-hour virtual sessions to support the implementation of the project, anywhere from carrying out project plans to budgets, to connecting with other funders, both in the industry side and also the government side, how to write bigger proposals. What are some tips there? So we're going to have really curated virtual sessions to help the researchers, and will allow them to bring people from their institution along with them. Because as we know, PIs don't do the research alone. They do it in an ecosystem in their institution. And so these training sessions will be required at least of the awardees. We will also have site visits. We'll award in the fall, but then we'll come and do a site visit in the spring. And this site visit is to support the development of the work. So it's not examination based. We're not coming in to examine all the rest of that, but we want to come in and support the work and help think through, be a thought partner in answering the how questions. How do I advance this research? How can I get this done? How can I expand it in this way? How can I develop this partnership? The how questions that come from the proposing team, we're there to really be a partner with them and to maybe make connections or provide some intelligence to help inform their work moving forward. We will also have a podcast featuring the awardees. So this podcast series will help the awardees disseminate their project findings. And it will also allow listeners and viewers to take a deep dive into what's happening with respect to data science at HBCUs. So we're really excited about this podcast. We haven't gotten into podcast land yet, and so we're moving in that direction. Now for the mini grants program, if there's a request supported by the home institution, or if it's supported by something else. So I think they call it double dipping. So we just ask that if other funding has been acquired for the project to let us know immediately. And we can pivot, all good. Eligibility information, like I said, the eligible institutions that may submit proposals only include historically Black colleges and universities. And we ask that the lead principal investigator be a full-time faculty or staff member. There's no restriction on the number of submissions from each eligible institution, but it's most likely that at most one award will be made to each institution. And so awards can be up to $18,000. And we just ask that the indirect cost rate be up to and including 8%. As we are seeing this as a training grant to train and develop researchers in data science. And so, well, what does the application look like? What is being asked there? So in the application, the proposal description that describes what is being proposed has a page limitation of 6 pages and must include the following sections. So really, section 1, put proposing principal investigators, and then write. Section 2, objective significance of the project, write that exactly, and then write, and so on. And so the proposing, first we want to know who are the proposing investigators. So providing the names of them, up to 5, departments, institutions, most relevant fields of expertise. And then also, what are the objectives and significance of the project? Why is it important? How will the work further data science related research or curriculum development, depending on the focus of the proposal? And then what would the grant enable that currently isn't in place? What will we gain that's new? And also the third section is plan and methodology. We want to see a well thought out plan. How are we going to carry out the work sequential steps? A year goes by really fast, faster than I can imagine. So having that benchmarks and some timelines, and this is what we want to have done along the way, kind of checking off. It's like creating a syllabus for yourself in a way, really helps projects be successful and also become complete. Section 5 is anticipated impacts. Where do you see the grant having the most impact? How will the research inform the field, the institution? How will it impact the proposing institution? And so just tell us what's the impacts? How will the work be either valued or utilized? Section 6 is dissemination plan. How will the work be shared and who will it be shared with? And then also, when we think about dissemination, we like to think about, I want to share this, and these are the people who would be interested in it. So we like to have 2 of those things. You say it's just a proposal. Well, you should go on with the idea of, we think this is what we're going to end up with. And we also think that these are the people or the stakeholders or the groups, either singular or plural, who would be interested in this, and this is why. So, and then also the section 7 is project assessment. How do you assess? How do you know you're going to be on track? And also, why is there a high probability that we'll be successful? So how will you go back and assess, am I on track? Am I getting things done? And are we marching towards our anticipated goals? And then lastly is the sustainability plan. So beyond project funding, when the grant award ends, what will be sustained? What will be left there? What will be carried on beyond the funding period? Will it be everything? Maybe not, but hopefully it'll be at least a subset of what is happening. So just talk about how will the work carry on beyond the project life? And if you have external funding to be pursued at a future date, include that as well, because what we'll do is we'll include that information in our professional development sessions. We also asked to have an abstract up to 250 words, which really gives a narrative overview of the proposed project for a non-specialist audience. So if you're walking down the street and you said, here's my abstract, they should go, wow, that's really cool. That's kind of, you want to have that wow factor. And references cited, you can use a format according to the norms of a discipline. Curriculum vitae, this is the curriculum vitae of all like the project team, and 3 pages max for each. It could be in like an agency-based format or just 3 pages PDF as well. A budget, 1 page max, an itemized statement of the expected cost, and then a justification that actually is in paragraph form and explains why this item is needed, why that item is needed. And then we ask for a 1 page maximum statement on research funding. We aim to fund those with little to no research funding. And we give the onus to the proposer to say, hey, I've had little to no research funding. You need to take a chance on me, right? And that's exactly who we're looking for. So just describe any funding received in the past 5 years that supports research, including the project title, award amount, funding source. And again, we're going to give preference to those with little to no research funding. And as we know, it also depends on who submits. So as they say in basketball, shoot the shot, right? And then also a letter of support from an appropriate administrator. Could be a dean, a provost, a chair that shows support for the project. So if you're ever in Atlanta, I just want y'all to know you can always stop by. We are at the Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurs at 504 Fair Street, also right across from Pascal's Restaurant, which everybody loves. And so come on by. This is where we live, and be happy to take some questions. I'll turn it back. Actually, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Morris.
Thank you, Dr. Washington. So we do have one question in the chat right now. Are there any opportunities at all for adjunct faculty to participate? Can you please expound on that?
Yes. So for the pre-freshman summer experience program, as long as it's HBCU faculty and staff, we don't differentiate between full-time or adjunct. Now for the mini grants program, the lead PI is a full-time faculty member. But you could be on a team with somebody who's the lead PI. So you could team up with somebody else. And so those are 2 ways that adjunct faculty can participate. Number 1, they can be an instructor in the pre-freshman summer experience program. No delineation there. Or join a team who's submitting a mini grant proposal.
Thank you so much. And Ms. Armstrong, I hope that answered your question. There's another question in the chat that says, are there any online research opportunities for students this summer?
So the pre-freshman summer experience is one of them, and there may be some more. We will host a workshop in June. That'll be in Atlanta. That will be in person for graduate students, faculty, staff. And for the students, the pre-freshman summer experience program is virtual. If there's something that comes to your mind, that would be, by golly, it'd be great if we had this or that. Feel free to reach out. My email's on the webpage there, or you can just search up my name. My cell phone number's there because nobody calls me. So feel free to reach out in case we're missing something that would really support some research or data science trajectories because we really want to make sure that our work resonates and is useful to those in the broader communities.
Awesome. Thank you. So I have some questions. Ms. Jane did have to drop off for another obligation. But it looks like we have the results of our poll. So majority of our attendees today are not currently enrolled as a student, 68%, 11% PhD students, 9% masters, 4% junior, and 2% sophomore, 7% are freshmen. We have almost an even split between male and female. We have 48% joining us from Georgia, and then 52% are not in Georgia, but in the US. Okay, so another question, maybe Mr. Hawkins could help answer this as well. For the mini grants program, what would a successful proposal look like? I guess from your personal opinions. I know Dr. Washington shared the details on what to include, but what would you all like to see?
You know, we just are interested in co-creating and co-innovating, and so we're really looking to Dr. Washington and the data science team to help us. We want to drive impact, and so if there are as a result of this program, if there are opportunities to amplify the work and to work with industry and compound what you're doing with other faculty at other institutions in the future, then we would see that as successful. It's a pilot program. We would like for this to, potentially replicate at other institutions, and we really just want this to grow. And so we're kind of in an exploratory phase, I think, with it right now. Hopefully we can get some feedback at the end of the grant program to see what works and look at potentially, opportunities to expand it in the future. And I don't know if Dr. Washington might want to add to that.
Yeah, and so that I think that's great. So that vertically integrated, that actually was Dr. Morris's idea, which I think is fantastic. And so that integration with different components, like Corey said, with industry, and a way you can connect with industry, you may have people at your institution, if you're at a HBCU, who work in advancement or development, who have partners with those in industry, or you may be able to connect with those online. So you just be support, and also, so two places to look if in your institution, development and advancement, and then another place to look is career services. Industry comes to career services wanting to have access to talent to fill jobs and roles, and perhaps they have a relationship with either a company or some industries or nonprofits that may be beneficial to the project in some sort of way that makes sense. So I'm glad you said that, Corey.
Thank you. Okay, so what if someone is thinking, I think I have a good idea, but I'm not quite sure? What kind of advice would you give to them?
For which one?
For the Microsoft mini grants, and also maybe PFX as well.
I think the advice, just to go for it. Proposal writing does take time. In the application for a pre-freshman summer experience, if you're an instructor applying, make sure you have the days mapped out. So, because it's 5 days, and I think one of my colleagues corrects me, says no, it's 4, because on the 5th day you're fine-tuning their presentation, and then they're presenting in the afternoon. So it is a really quick project where the students really kind of dive in, and they also have the flexibility to ask questions and kind of figure things out with the data set. But having a plan in place to move from one day to the next is very helpful. And that's the same thing for research, having that plan in place, knowing where you're starting, and then having some concrete hypothesis. If that's a contradiction, I'm not sure, but a concrete hypothesis of where you want that research to go, and being very detail oriented. Here's my data set, here's the reference, here's what we want to do with it, here are the partners, here's how the partners will play, and just be very specific and detail oriented, so that when you look at that proposal, you have an idea about the whole story of the work, the arc. And all you do, if somebody gets funded, they just take that proposal and then they just go and run with it and do it, sort of thing, that there's no guessing. And so that really is the best proposals for grants, is the one where the reader can read it, they understand what is going on, they don't have a whole bunch of internal nomenclature, they have everything's well-defined, described, it has relevant references and links, and one can actually see how the work will be carried out, who will do what, and what the value add is, either to the institution, to the researcher, to the research itself, to something. What is the value add? What is that impact?
Excellent. We have another question. I think they're asking to how do they become part of PFX. So we put the application links in the chat. I'll repost them. So if you can just go in and submit your SurveyMonkey application, we'll start the review process after the deadline, and then we'll notify individuals who have been accepted and then provide additional details as well. So based on the previous experiences for PFX, Dr. Washington, from a student standpoint, what are some challenges that you would kind of forewarn students of, and then also some things, some strengths that could help them be successful in this program?
So for students to be successful, it really is being open to learning. We find that in the pre-freshman summer experience program, our students, across HBCUs, they're top students. They do really well. And oftentimes, I think I did too, you come from schools where you might be one of a few of the really smart, bright, motivated kids or students rather. And then what happens is when the students then come to PFX, the pre-freshman experience program, they go, wait a minute, it's not just me. This competition bar has suddenly raised. And that can be overwhelming for anybody. I know when I was an undergrad, going to undergrad, it was overwhelming. Going to grad school, it was overwhelming. And so being able to acknowledge that, oh, this is really kind of upping the bar for what excellence is, whatever that means to that individual. And then being able to just kind of take a deep breath and say, okay, let me learn. So the pre-freshman summer experience program, we've designed it so that students, there's no grades. You show up, you come, you contribute, you do the work, and just have fun and just ask questions. It will take time, it will take work. It sometimes, as research is, it will be confusing. There's a saying about research. They say research is doing it without really knowing what you're doing, because you kind of sometimes feel in the dark and then you're like, whoa, this is what it is. And so having a comfort level with uncertainty and not having an answer, that's okay. We don't always have answers. Sometimes it's the questions that are more important than the answers, or it's the what's next is more important. So for research, it's always you're searching something, then you're searching again, and then you're researching again. And so it's never closed and it's never done. I guess that's why researchers, we like to work around the clock. I don't know. But just having that resilience and the acknowledgement that I might be in the room with the virtual room, so to speak, with other really smart, talented, bright peers of mine, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that my knowledge would be any less. It's I now have access to a greater variety of resources through my peers, through the instructors, through the mentors, and just sticking with it. When life gets hard, and life does get hard, right? We get thrown lemons all the time. Just remember, lemonade will come.
Thank you. So I have a few more questions about the PFX. One question is about individual graduated in December of 2022, and they are wondering if they could participate and in what capacity. And then someone else wants you to differentiate between the mentor application from the I guess it's the instructor application. So if you just give a little bit more details about that.
Yeah, so for the mentor application, we're looking for those who've had either experiences in mentoring other students. It could be in tutoring, either formally or informally, or camps, something where you're providing or coaching even that help and support to other students. That's one thing we're looking for. And then the second thing we're looking for is familiarity with some of the technology, familiarity with Excel, with Python, Tableau, or R, because what we'll do our best to match up the instructors who will use that sort of software with research mentors. And so just colloquially in the past, having research mentors with a greater proficiency in some of the languages, R, Python, Tableau, and so on, that definitely would probably put you apart. Now, if you're saying, I'm not even sure what those languages are, you have a couple of resources. There's always one, everybody's favorite, YouTube University. has instructions on there, and this video will also be posted on there as well, and to kind of dive in on the spare time, whatever that means, and learn and pick up some of these languages. Tableau is actually super fun to learn. You can get it for free if you're an educator or student, and R and Python are also free. And so there's a lot of other resources, either in Tableau, there's Coursera, edX, there's these open software platforms where you can dive in and upskill and learn some of these softwares if you don't know them already. And then for the research mentors, we also have, and also for the students, we also ask for resume. So ensuring that the resume has some of that in there, in addition to what you've done, your work experience, and your contribution at those different work experiences will be helpful. There are resume examples online. There are probably tutorials on YouTube University, but take some time to polish up the resume. Maybe even have a LinkedIn page that resonates with the resume, having everything kind of updated to show your professional brand experience and expertise. And I think there was another question as well, right?
Yeah, we have one question about one-on-one prep sessions for the mini grants application. We will have a tech prep session on May 6th. I'm not sure if the time has been determined yet, Dr. Washington. I think you have it on your slide. So we will have that, and we'll send out information on how to attend. It won't be one-on-one, but it will be more guided, and you will be allowed to ask questions. And then we have a question about, must we be an upper undergraduate to be considered for a research mentor position?
Mm-hmm. And so if you'd like to, interesting. If you want to schedule a time to meet with me, my schedule is kind of crazy, but you could always reach out to me, and then I'll put my Calendly in the chat as well. But yeah, if you want one-on-one time scope, if you're like, I'm not really sure, reach out, you know, happy to chat, happy to connect. And thanks for putting the mini grant information in there, because defining that scope can be challenging at first, but it really is what is most of importance to you, what is of interest to you. And so Dr. Morris just put in the chat our upcoming virtual program, and that one it'll be kind of office hours-y. So you can bring your project ideas, questions, that sort of thing there if you'd like as well. And so someone asked for the upper undergraduates to be considered as research mentors. Yeah, so the research mentors for the pre-freshman summer experience, they're either upper level so currently sitting sophomores, juniors, seniors, or graduate students.
And then we have a very specific question about clinical database that can be altered later.
Yeah. So is a grant appropriate for building a clinical database that can be later assessed with human subjects providing blood specimens for further studies? Yes. So this mini grant really is, you could see that as seed funding to then would seed information, would gather the resources, that sort of thing, that would then go on to carrying out other research, building a clinical database, that sort of thing. And so in your mini grants, you would just make that clear that this is the component we're doing now. We're doing the pilot, getting the initial data. Obviously, you know, if there is some sort of human subjects done in your research, we will ask that for IRB, that sort of thing, or at least ask your institution to make sure that that's all situated. But yes, you can see the mini grant as getting seed data, knowledge, which is also important to put, where are you thinking about? Like if you get all of that and you apply for the next, what does that next look like? And where would that go? So we can help you make that connection. So yeah, it would be appropriate. As long as there's something data or data related in there. So it could be data science or applied data science, either looking towards teaching or looking towards research.
And we had another question that was asking to elaborate more about data for social impact. Specifically, does it include topics from social sciences, or can it also be from engineering? And I think you just answered that with the statement about as long as you have some kind of data incorporated, then yes.
Yeah, because many of the engineering problems have a social impact, right? If you think about the grand challenges in engineering, I'm not sure I've met a grand challenge that didn't have a social impact. I mean, I'm just saying, right? So there's these engineering grand challenges that really provide solutions to problems that will make society better. And that's how we think about the social impact. How can we use data to make things better for society, to create new innovations? So it goes hand in hand.
Right. And then last question, will these slides and recording be available?
Yep,
for-
the recording. I think I need to edit a couple typos. But other than that, yes, the recording will be available online. And also we have another mini grants tech session prep on May 6th. And that would be kind of reverse, bring your questions sort of thing. And I also should say that Corey and I will be at UIDP, HBCU Engage. I don't know if anybody's going to that. So we'll be there presenting on the mini grants programs. So if you're coming to UID, I just put a link in the chat. If it's in Baltimore next month, I can't get my days right. It's in Baltimore next month. So if you're going to be there, I'd be happy to sit down with you, talk over any project ideas, if you'll be there, right? And Corey will be there too, right?
Yes, looking forward to that.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I love UIDP.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Washington and Mr. Hawkins. We really appreciated all of your information, and it was a pleasure talking to you and learning more about these HBCU programs. And thank you all for attending this session virtually. Any closing remarks, anyone else?
And thank you, Dr. Morris, for moderating. Yes,
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Corey.
Sure, my pleasure. Bye.
Awesome.